Welcome everyone to Whimsy Woven Stories. Here, we explore gripping tales of real-life twists. Join our storytelling community.
My name's Francis, and let me be real with you. Being a stepdad can often feel like a thankless job. That might sound rough, but if you've ever been in those shoes, you know exactly what I mean. You give your time, your energy, your money, your love, and sometimes it doesn't come back the way you hoped. You try to fill a space left by someone else, thinking love and consistency will be enough, but sometimes they just aren't. I came to that realization one Christmas night, right there at the dinner table, surrounded by family. That's when I stood up and made decisions that shocked everyone at that table. When I first met Selena, the woman who would later become my wife, she seemed like a driven, independent woman. Back then, I had no reason to think she was hiding anything. She was single, figuring life out like the rest of us. We started dating, slowly getting to know each other. I found myself falling for her in a way that's hard to explain. What I didn't know then was that Selena was already a mom. She had a daughter, Carmen, who was 4 years old and living in another city with her grandparents. Selena hadn't told me about Carmen at first, and honestly, I was a little surprised when I eventually found out. Selena visited Carmen when she could, but the little girl wasn't part of her everyday life at that point. One night, while we were talking about her past, Selena opened up. She told me she got pregnant in her late teens with a boy she loved deeply, someone she thought would be her forever. But when she told him, he flat out denied it, saying it couldn't be his. That broke her heart. Eventually, he accepted that Carmen was his child, but by then, Selena had seen enough. He was always in and out of trouble, and nothing about him seemed responsible. She said she didn't want a man like that near her daughter, if she could help it. As I listened, I didn't see a woman weighed down by baggage. I saw someone who had survived something hard. Her story stirred something deep in me, not just for her, but for her daughter too. That night, I told her if this was going to be serious between us, I wouldn't just be with her. I'd step up for Carmen too. And I meant it. Looking back, I didn't fully understand what it meant to take on someone else's child as my own. But I made that choice because I loved Selena, and I believed a child born from a tough story deserved a soft place to land. I accepted her. I accepted Carmen. And in my heart, that meant everything, even if I didn't yet know what it would eventually cost me. After Selena and I got married, I asked if Carmen could come live with us, under the same roof. Selena thought it over and agreed, so we made the arrangements. Carmen moved in permanently. Those first days were good. At the time, Carmen was our only child, and I poured myself fully into being a dad. I knew we didn't share blood, but that never mattered to me. From the moment Carmen started living with us, I treated her like she was my own. I wanted her to feel safe, loved, and chosen. 2 years later, Selena and I had a child together, Carmen's little sister. You think that might change things, but I made a conscious decision that it wouldn't. From the very beginning, I was intentional about one thing. Both girls would get equal love from me. Whether it was birthdays, bedtime stories, school events, or just sitting around a dinner table, I made sure Carmen never felt replaced or pushed aside. To me, they were both my daughters. Back then, we weren't rich, but we were comfortable enough. Still, I knew something clearly. Time flies and college sneaks up faster than you think. Tuition isn't getting any cheaper, and the last thing I wanted was for either of them to start adulthood buried in debt just because we hadn't planned ahead. That's when I decided to start a college fund. I didn't tell Selena. I opened 2 separate accounts, one for Carmen, one for my biological daughter, and I put the same amount into each every month as much as I could manage. With time, interest, and consistency, the funds began to grow. Then Carmen hit her teenage years, and her attitude changed. She wasn't the same little girl who used to run to the door when I got home or sit next to me during movies. At first, I chalked it up to normal teenage moodiness and phases. I kept showing her in little ways that I was still there for her. Then one day, I found out the real reason she'd been in touch with her biological dad, and I didn't learn it from her directly. I had to find out the hard way. When I confronted Selena, she finally told me the truth. Apparently, Carmen's dad somehow got her number and reached out. According to Selena, he said he wanted to be part of Carmen's life again, to build a relationship. When I asked why no one had told me, Selena gave me that look and said she didn't think it was her place to say no, that he was still Carmen's father, and maybe it would be good for Carmen to know him. That explanation didn't sit right with me. I felt pushed aside, and it hurt more than I can explain. But I didn't argue. I just nodded and walked away. From that point on, Carmen got colder toward me. I didn't want to be the guy who overreacted or took things personally when I shouldn't have, so I kept loving her. I still paid attention to what she liked, got her what she needed, helped with school, and kept her tutoring going. I never once treated her any differently than her younger sister. I held on to the hope that one day, she'd realize I was still the same man who opened his heart to her all those years ago, before she even knew what the word dad was supposed to feel like. For Carmen's 17th birthday, I spent weeks thinking about the perfect gift. After weighing my options, I decided to buy her a brand new Honda Civic. It wasn't the flashiest car on the lot, but it was dependable, affordable to maintain, and safe. I figured it was the perfect first car for a teenager who'd soon be heading off to college. I even picked out a sleek silver color, paid the insurance in advance, and made sure her name was properly on the title. But the moment she saw the car, her face just fell. No thank you, just a tight-lipped, unimpressed look, like I'd handed her a pair of worn-out shoes. Then she asked, "Where's the Benz?" At first, I thought she was joking, but she was totally serious. Months before her birthday, she had shown me a picture of a Mercedes-Benz GLC 300 on her phone and casually called it her dream car. I never imagined she actually expected me to buy her a luxury car, especially not at 17. I calmly explained that a Mercedes isn't just expensive to buy. It's costly to maintain, insure, and repair. The Civic, on the other hand, was known for its reliability and would last her for years without breaking the bank. I even told her I'd test-driven it myself to make sure it was comfortable and fuel-efficient. None of that mattered to her. From that day on, she held on to that moment like a grudge. No matter what I did, it always came back to that car. I mentioned it to Selena, hoping she'd see how much the disrespect was growing. I told her how hurt I was by Carmen's reaction to the gift. Selena just shrugged and said, "She's a teenager. Don't let it bother you." But it did bother me. And no matter how many other things I did for her, Carmen never let it go. As she started staying out late, I tried having serious talks with her, just out of concern. I said, "Hey, I know you're growing up, but please let us know where you are. It's not safe out there at night." She looked at me like I was overreacting and snapped, "You're always trying to control my life," then walked away. Another time, I brought up the fact that she was hanging around a group of guys with a bad reputation. I said, "Be careful who you hang out with. Not everyone has good intentions." She didn't see it as concern. She fired back, "Why do you even care? You're not even my real dad." That hit me hard. Those words felt like they wiped away every moment I'd ever shared with her. But that wasn't even the worst part. There was one night I'll never forget. After a small argument, she came home way past midnight. When I asked her where she'd been, she looked me dead in the eye and said, "Even my real dad doesn't act like you do. You're doing way too much for her stepdad." That cracked something deep inside me. In that moment, I felt like just a stepdad trying way too hard. Selena, her mom, stood there silently, said nothing. She didn't tell Carmen she was out of line. That silence spoke louder than any insult ever could. It was the first time I realized I was fighting for this family all alone. Time passed, and despite everything that happened, Carmen eventually left for college. Part of me still held on to hope that some distance would give her time to think. I didn't stop caring about her just because she acted like I didn't matter. That's not how I'm wired. When Christmas came and she was home for the holidays, I saw it as a chance. I remembered she'd once mentioned a designer bag in passing, so I tracked it down, bought it, and wrapped it carefully. But it wasn't just the bag. I also wrote a card and signed it Dad, because despite everything, I still wanted to be that for her. I thought this small gesture might bring us back together. I was wrong. Dinner that night started like any other holiday meal. The food was good. Everyone was relaxed. For a moment, it felt like things were okay. We laughed, passed dishes around. It almost felt like the old days before everything got complicated. Then her aunt, Selena's younger sister, smiled and said, "These girls are lucky to have such a great dad." I wasn't expecting much, but what came next took the breath right out of me. Carmen let out a loud, dismissive snort without even looking up from her plate, then said, "Some people aren't worth calling dad." The room went completely silent. I felt a sharp pressure in my chest like someone had jabbed a knife between my ribs and slowly twisted it. Selena looked down like she wanted the floor to swallow her whole. Our younger daughter glanced between me and her sister, clearly confused. That was the moment I realized everything I'd done, being there for her like a real dad, meant nothing to her. I just smiled, slowly got up from the table, walked over to the Christmas tree, grabbed the gift I had bought her, and tucked it under my arm. Then I looked her in the eyes and said calmly, "Don't touch any of the gifts I've given you over the years, including the car." I added, "And I just canceled your college fund. Good luck." Then I turned and walked away. She thought I was bluffing, but I wasn't. That night, after the Christmas dinner blow-up, I went back to my room, logged into Carmen's college fund, and redirected every single dollar, all $120,000, into the fund I had set up for my younger daughter instead. After that, I blocked Carmen on everything. Not because I wanted to be petty, but because I had nothing left to say. If she needed answers, she could ask her mom. I made that decision with a clear head. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words. By the time I woke up the next morning, she had packed her things and left for her biological dad's house. I was told she had a lot to say, that I was controlling, manipulative, and trying too hard to be something I wasn't. She didn't just burn the bridge, she tried to blow it up on her way out. I didn't respond. That part of me that used to worry and care had gone quiet. Selena, her mom, said nothing for days. I could feel the tension in the house. Then one evening she finally spoke and tried to guilt-trip me, saying, "You can't give up on her." I looked her in the eye and said calmly, "She gave up on me first." I just finally heard her loud and clear. Selena kept pressing, asking how I could do this and what kind of example I was setting. That's when I stopped her and said, "Do you want to join her? Because I've watched you. You don't talk to her when you should. You stay silent when you need to speak up, and you let her disrespect me in front of you without saying a word. She didn't say another word. 6 months went by in silence. Honestly, I didn't reach out either. Then one quiet afternoon, I was sitting in the living room when my younger daughter came up to me, hesitating like she'd been thinking about something for a while. She finally asked, "Dad, can you let my sister come home?" I leaned back, looked at her for a moment, and said, "I didn't send her away. She left on her own. The door's always open if she wants to come back." Not long after, Selena spoke up. She'd been quiet for months, probably hoping the situation would resolve itself, but hearing her younger daughter's question seemed to give her courage. She asked if Carmen could come back too. I looked at her and gave the same answer I'd given my daughter. She could stay, but I was done being her father. A few days later, Carmen showed up at the house. She looked different, not physically, but in the way she carried herself. She asked to talk, and when I agreed, she sat down across from me, weighed down by months of regret. She apologized, told me she had tried calling and messaging me on every platform, only to realize I had blocked her everywhere. And yeah, I had. I let her talk as tears fell. She admitted she'd made a mistake. I didn't flinch. I wasn't about to open myself up to that pain again. Calmly, I told her, "You can stay, but I won't be responsible for you." She had burned that bridge. Then I added, "And if you disrespect me again, you'll be gone for good." She didn't argue or talk back, she just nodded. In that moment, she probably understood the difference between someone who chooses to love her and someone who just shares her DNA. Eventually, I learned that life with her biological dad wasn't the fairy tale she imagined. The man couldn't provide the kind of structure, support, or comfort I'd worked so hard to give her. He just didn't have the means. To make things worse, his wife saw Carmen as a burden, an extra mouth to feed, an inconvenience. I was told she constantly nagged Carmen, reminding her she was a strain on their already stretched household. Imagine going from having your own room, a car, and someone who tried their hardest to be there for you, to being treated like you're in the way. I never rubbed it in her face, but I did overhear her once. She was on the phone, probably talking to a friend, unaware I was nearby. I'll never forget what she said, her voice low, worn out. "I saw hell over there." That's when I truly understood she'd lived the reality she thought she wanted, and it didn't even come close to what I tried to give her. Now, months later, she's back in the house, but not back in my heart. The pain remains, and I stand firm in my decision. I haven't returned any of the things I took back. Some lines, once crossed, don't just fade away. Could that change one day? Maybe. I'm not pretending I'm made of stone. But for now, she's got to build her future without them. Dear listeners, please like and subscribe.
Thanks for listening. Share your opinion in comment section and also do like and subscribe to the channel.